questions. Firstly, how can the utilities keep a safe, reliable grid while also keep it like affordable and secure? Secondly, because utilities have their revenues from increased infrastructure deployment, how can they get a just and reasonable return on equity while also incorporating increased DER in the grid? So again, keeping all this in mind, we came up with two tangible problem statements. Firstly, for a transmission and distribution utility like Avangrid, who does not own generation and is in a regulated market, what new business models can they use to stay in business and provide reliable services? And also how to leverage the DERs from multiple solutions, various types of solution, and also the digital technologies. How can we provide a reliable and resilient service and while also generating value? So basically, how can Avangrid be a utility of the future?
Thank you, Akshay. So keeping in mind, we designed a program and project goals with the policy, the law, and what needs to be done for this new market that we are trying to tackle over here. So keeping in mind, we had to achieve the New York REV goals, and hence all our models were developed on the basis of those goals that we enumerated. And to bank on the value that we can generate over here, we saw this is as an opportunity to examine how a business model of a typical utility can shift from the capital base that we just saw to a performance-based incentive. We believe this is the direction in which the utilities of the future should be leading, and Avangrid, with what we have in our mind as a product, can do with that. For this end, we assessed all the metrics for earnings adjusted mechanisms, and that would help us know if we are on track for our goals that we're going to meet. And this would keep in track what the utility revenues will be, and this would also ensure that we are clothed in public interest while achieving the goals that we want to. And for this end, what essentially we did in a simple sentence is we quantified the profitability in the various DER bundles that we assumed here, and we pushed for resiliency in the ever-increasing electrification trends and designed this product that we're going to talk about. The product that we have for you is essentially a participation program. This is a digital marketplace that we would enable as a utility. And this digital marketplace will have three key players. The stakeholders would be a customer, a utility, and a DER owner. Now, as a customer, what the person's looking for is, or essentially is the using and consuming public. And what they need is access to affordable, resilient, and clean energy. For a utility, we are looking for a new revenue stream, or rather streams, and how we can increase resiliency in this new age. As a DER owner, we are looking to reduce risk in the assets that we own. And with the new FERC Order 2222, I think the ability to aggregate over here is very critical. So keeping this in mind, we as a utility want to get in on this action. So how do we do that? We do that by facilitating this marketplace wherein we bring the customer and the DER owner together. Now the customer, what the customer has to do is provide access to energy. So they would sign up on this digital marketplace, and they would give access for us to use their energy and infrastructure data. Now this data would be given to the utility. And using what tools utilities have, for example, hosting capability analyses and different tools that we have on our end, we would create high leads in terms of what we can provide to the DER owners. And hence, we would transfer these leads to the DER owners in terms of how they can find utility-backed investment portfolios. Keeping in mind, we created a value proposition which had new revenue streams, which had participation fees from the DER owners and how we can claim money from the EAMs. We created this new marketplace that exists, and that would be our sort of new utility product.
Thanks. Looking at the methodology on how we are creating this, facilitating this market product, is we are trying to incorporate the earnings adjusted mechanisms based on certain metrics, strongly based on reliability, but also on greenhouse gas emission reduction, energy efficiency, system efficiency, cutting off that curve, shaving the peak, engaging the customers, and having a performance incentive-based mechanism. We assess the current market potential for the DERs, try to scope it down to the goals of REV, adjusting for 6,000. Okay. We did some financial modeling to show how the revenue streams would be adjusted, what the net cost to the customer is, and finding a win-win-win solution where everyone gets to make money, promote the goals, be environment friendly, clean energy, and focus on solar reliability and resiliency. Thank you so much. That was our time. Questions?
Great, thank you. My first question, please, is what is your financial model? I'm going to give you two minutes extra to explain us, please.
Yeah, definitely. Do you want us to share again, or do you want to just talk about it?
Whatever you want.
Okay, so we started with a bottom-up modeling, and that bottom-up modeling is based on agent-based modeling, where you are trying to assess the true energy requirement for a household based on the potential of solar and storage which they can afford. Now there can be a big gap between what they can afford and what the utility would like to sponsor, and this is where again the DER owners and the utilities come in, where they are increasing the system size of the installed capacity at the customers' homes, so that not only are the customers getting the reliability benefits and the cost benefits, the DR owners are getting a higher capital investment, and the utilities are getting a higher resiliency from having to install less distributed energy resources or wires on the grid, on lesser maintenance, especially in remote and challenging areas. But then when they are shifting to performance-based incentive, this is actually playing in their favor. Then from the bottom-up modeling, we created a discounted cash flow model to show the net present value of the benefits of each DER resource down to the current date. How much would it cost the customer? How much would it cost the DER owners? And then how utility can anyways find the money to make it. And obviously you need to have good terms with the PUC and the legislator to approve this performance-based incentive. And then we go up using thermostat modeling as well on the energy efficiency side, capturing each and every aspect of DER using digital technologies as well, and giving this whole holistic solution, scaling up to meet the REV goals for 2025, which I believe is 6,000 megawatts of solar, 3,000 megawatts of storage for 2030, but using a CAGR, a compounded annual growth rate, to adjust for the growth rates to meet the goals in each and every year, following cost curves which are beneficial according to economic metrics.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Do we have time for more questions, Kelly? So when you talk about the performance-based model, what are the main revenue streams for the utility?
What are the main revenues?
Main revenue streams?
So in the digital marketplace that we've come up as a solution here, there are two revenue streams that we are talking in mind. The first one is when we use our hosting capability analyses to inform decisions about what are the high market value locations and customers in our utility territory, we will charge a subscription fee or sort of a service fee to the DER owners, and that is one revenue stream. The second revenue stream is that when we did our financial modeling, we sort of came up with these metrics for earnings adjusted mechanisms, which we would be filing with the public commission to identify as our goals. And we would be quantifying what are the incentives that we should be getting for those terms. And therefore, that is what we use to decide what a second revenue stream would be. And all these things were kept in mind for designing reliability standards. And we use the IEEE 1366 reliability standard to assess what our reliability and resilience quotients should look like.
So the utility is charging DER owners for optimal location insight, is that right?
Right. So we will use a solar potential, for example, the Google Sunroof is what we were given. And using those two kind of resources, we can have a geospatially enabled resource that tells the DER owners of where they can find good resources for just solar. But if we consider a second bundle in which we have a solar plus storage, that resource would also pop into that geospatial map or sort of our leads. And therefore, the DR owner can make informed decisions about where they can allocate their capital accordingly.
Based on the system capacity that we know as a grid, a T&D operator. And I also want to correct, I think it's Akshay, what Akshay meant was not a regulated market, but a restructured or a deregulated market and a regulated utility. Just.
Sure. Okay. We have time for more questions, or is that time?
15 seconds left.
Okay.
Okay, no questions. Thank you so much for choosing our challenge then. Congrats.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Looking forward to talking to you guys again.